The Filipino Psychology of Virgilio Enriquez. So this study explores pioneering work of Virgilio G. Enriquez in the development of Psikolohiyang Pilipino, a culturally grounded psychology that seeks to redefine the understanding of human behavior within the Filipino context. Born out of the need to address limitations of Western-centric psychological frameworks, Enriquez's endeavors aimed to create a psychological paradigm that reflected the unique cultural identity and experiences of the Filipino people. So, Virgilio G. Enriquez, also known as Doc A or Ver, was a social psychologist and the father of the Filipino psychology o ama ng psikolohiyang Pilipino. He was born on November 24, 1942 at Santol, Balagtas, formerly Biga, Bulacan, and died on August 31, 1994. He was the youngest of the five children to Arsenio Liberan Enriquez and Rosario Galvez Gaspar. He is the founder of the Pambansang Samahan sa Psikolohiyang Pilipino, a corporate name National Association for Psikolohiyang Pilipino Inc. So Enriquez earned his BA in philosophy from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, in 1961. Then in 1966, he attended Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois to pursue the master's degree and later a doctorate degree in social psychology. He then returned to the Philippines in 1971 to continue the teaching psychology. So according sa Yaha, Filipino psychology is the fruit of experience, ideas, and orientation of Filipinos. So Virgilio Enriquez was a prominent advocate of indigenous psychology in Asia. He worked to break boundaries and investigate different learning practices. He received many high accolades in his profession. Most notably, in 1982, he was given the Outstanding Young Scientist of Philippines Award by National Academy of Science and Technology. So Enriquez embarked on a transformative journey that would not only redefine the contours of psychology but also lay the foundation for a distinctively Filipino approach to understanding the human psyche. So as we know, Virgilio Enriquez was a prominent advocate of indigenous psychology in Asia. So this academic movement arose from Western psychologists' lack of applicability to non-Western societies and thereby promoted cultural sensitivity and appropriateness within psychology by enabling each cultural to develop their own frameworks and methodologies. Enriquez coined the term culture as to indicate that every culture is a contributor to psychological knowledge, contrasting from the approach he referred to as culture as target with regards culture as being dependent on other culture to gain psychological knowledge. So at the heart of his intellectual legacy lies the pioneering concept of Psikolohiyang Pilipino, a groundbreaking movement seeking to recalibrate psychological discourse by infusing it with the richness and depth of the Filipino culture tapestry. So, Enriquez plays a crucial role in the development of Psikolohiyang Pilipino or Filipino psychology. This school of thought aimed to create a psychological framework grounded in Filipino culture and experiences, challenging the dominance of Western centric perspective in psychology. So the study delves into the historical and theoretical foundations that motivated Enriquez to embark on his groundbreaking exploration. Against a backdrop of globalized psychological discourse, Psikolohiyang Pilipino emerged as a response to the neglect of indigenous perspectives and cultures nuances in mainstream psychology. Enriquez sought to bridge this gap by establishing a psychological framework deeply rooted in Filipino culture, history, and values. So this study outlines the central focus and purpose of Enriquez's exploration into Psikolohiyang Pilipino. It articulates the specific research questions, objectives, or hypotheses that guided his work. Enriquez's statement of the study likely emphasized the importance of establishing a psychological framework that resonated with the lived experience of Filipinos, fostering a more inclusive and culturally relevant understanding of human behavior. So this study identifies multiple objectives behind Enriquez's efforts, including sa creation of a cultural sensitive psychological framework, challenging the dominance of Western theories, contributing to the development of distinctly Filipino identity within psychology, and incorporating indigenous knowledge into mainstream psychological discourse. So to create culturally sensitive and contextually relevant of psychological a framework for understanding Filipino behavior and mental processes, to challenge the dominance of Western psychological theories and methodologies in the Philippine context, to contribute to the development of a distinctly Filipino identity with the field of psychology, and the last, to address the gaps in existing psychological frameworks by incorporating indigenous knowledge and cultural perspectives. So this study lies in its potential to reshape the landscape of psychology in the Philippines and beyond by emphasizing the importance of cultural context and indigenous perspectives. Psikolohiyang Pilipino aim to provide a more holistic and accurate understanding of human behavior. This approach not only empowered the Filipino people to see themselves reflected in psychological theory, but also had a broader implications for the decolonization of psychology globally. Enriquez's work inspired a generation of psychologists to reconsider the universality of Western psychological theories and prompted a re-evaluations of the cultural relevance of Psikolohiyang Pilipino extends beyond, beyond the academic realm, influencing the societal attitudes, policies, and practices by fostering a deeper appreciation for cultural diversity and indigenous knowledge.
Materials and methods. The method used in this paper is a combination of historical and philosophical analysis. The materials and methods used in this paper can be divided into the following categories. The first category is historical analysis. It examines the life, works, and the teaching of Virgilio G. Enriquez, a distinguished Filipino psychologist, has significantly contributed to the field of psychology, particularly in the realm of cultural and indigenous psychology. His groundbreaking work has left an indelible mark on the understanding of the Filipino psyche. So Virgilio G. Enriquez, a prominent Filipino psychologist that made a substantial contributions to the field, particularly in cultural and indigenous psychology. His life, works, and teachings reflect a committed in understanding Filipino psyche within its cultural context. Enriquez pioneered the Psikolohiyang Pilipino or Filipino psychology development, emphasizing the importance of indigenous knowledge and cultural nonsense in psychological studies. His groundbreaking work challenged Western-centric perspectives, advocating for a more inclusive and culturally sensitive approach to psychology. Enriquez emphasized the interconnectedness of individuals with their cultural background, shaping a unique psychological framework that diverged from conventional Western theories. Through his writings and teachings, Enriquez sought to bridge the gap between traditional Filipino values and modern psychological concepts. This historical analysis recognizes his enduring impact in shaping a distinct Filipino psychology, fostering a deeper understanding of cultural influences on human behavior and cognition. The second category is philosophical analysis. Analyzes the philosophical underpinnings of Virgilio G. Enriquez, works and teaching of Psikolohiyang Pilipino, a culturally grounded psychology that seeks to redefine the understanding of human behavior within the Filipino context. Virgilio G. Enriquez laid the foundation for Psikolohiyang Pilipino, a culturally rooted psychology. Enriquez aimed to redefine the understanding of human behavior within the Filipino context by integrating indigenous perspectives and values. His works reflect a pers- philosophical commitment to decolonize psychology, emphasizing the importance of cultural sensitivity and context, specific approaches in studying the Filipino psyche. The philosophical underpinnings include a critique of Western centric paradigms, a call for cultural authenticity, and a recognition of the interconnectedness between culture and psychology. The third is examination of the teaching. The study delves into the historical and theoretical foundations that motivated Enriquez to embark on his groundbreaking exploration. The Psikolohiyang Pilipino emerged as a response to the neglect of indigenous perspectives and cultural nonsense in mainstream psychology. The examination of Enriquez's teaching reveals a profound engagement with historical and theoretical underpinnings. His groundbreaking exploration, Psikolohiyang Pilipino, serves as a crucial response to the long-standing neglect of indigenous perspectives and cultural nonsense within mainstream psychology. This approach aims to bridge the gap and enrich the field by incorporating a more inclusive understanding of the Filipino psyche and experience. The last category is analysis of the impact. It investigates the impact of the development of Enriquez's work, the Psikolohiyang Pilipino, or Filipino psychology, as a pivotal contribution that emphasizes the importance of cultural competence context in psychological research. This paper explores how his works and have influenced the development of Psikolohiyang Pilipino. Enriquez's development of Psikolohiyang Pilipino has a profound impact, emphasizing the critical role of a cultural competence in psychological research. His work highlights the significance of understanding the cultural context, thereby fostering a more nuanced and relevant approach to studying the Filipino psyche. This analysis delves into the ways Enriquez's contributions have shaped Psikolohiyang Pilipino, fostering a paradigm shift that values and incorporates indigenous perspectives, ultimately enriching the broader field of psychology with a more culturally sensitive framework.
Hello guys, good day. Isa ko sa mga reporter along with Jean Balatero, Rica Renes o Virginita Sitinta. O karon i-explain ako ang kuan. I will explain to you ang isa sa mga report, ang the continuation sa mga report nga the Filipino psychology of Virgilio Enriquez. Diri sa part i-explain ako sa inyo ang kuan results og discussion. Okay, ang part nga the result of his analysis revealed that Virgilio Enriquez Psikolohiyang Filipino, a psychological framework rooted in Filipino culture, history, values, and challenge Western-centric perspective, and aim to redefine human behavior within the Filipino context. Enriquez aimed to create a culturally sensitive framework, question Western theories, and incorporate indigenous knowledge into the mainstream discussion. His work has a real-world implication, influence societal attitude and policies. This study uses historical and philosophical analysis to understand Sikolohiyang Filipinos' development and impact on the Filipino psyche. Isa sa akong na research about aning result is kuan. Ay, anyway, balik ta kang Virgilio Enriquez sa result sa ing nakuan kay several yun nga substantial contribution sa field of psychology. Ang isa sa mga particular ani kay in a relationship sa Pilipino nga mga society and values similar sa mga similar niya sa lain country who are also colonized. They are mga sense sa identity nga mga loose nga mga cultural theft o adaptation sa mga western practices nga nag-occur. After niya nakuha iyang PhD sa US, Enriquez nga nibalik din siya sa Philippines para mag-create siya new teaching method and mo din yung kuan na goal nga taking a deeper look at Philippine psychology and development creatively and intentively among Filipinos as based sa akong na research og education og research good ang nagtabang to efficiate the first kuan. Anyways, hindi na kini importante, so move along og isa pod sa akong madugang siyang result kay kuan prominent prominent siya sa pag advocate sa mga fi, sa mga indigenous psychology in Asia sa marag academic movement arose from Western psychology lack of implicability to non-Western society. Isa siya sa mga nagkuan sa term nga culture as source to indicate that every culture is a contributor yun sa psychological knowledge contrasting sa mga approach refer to as a target which regards result as being dependent sa uban culture makagain og psychological knowledge. Enriquez og iyang mga colleague sa based na research kay and his colleague Carmen Santiago made a contribution to indigenous research methods kay sa pagkuha nila og pag-provide nila og mga data o mga pag-gather sa mga techniques that nga relevant o applicable to Filipino culture na yung mga research model nga made up of two scale that exists on a continuum including kuan isa ni sa mga research iskala and mananaliksik as well as iskala and pagtutunguhan ng mananaliksik at kalahok. The former being sa research method scale uh, cut na to. The later being sa the latter being sa researcher participant relationship aning scale is regarded as more intrusive involving a stronger relationship between respondent and investigators. Sunod nga slide, I will be discussing the discussion. This studies Psychologyang Pilipino, a psychological framework by Virgilio Enriquez, is not just about psychology but also about embracing Filipino identity. It challenged Western ideas and opened the doors to a more diverse and inclusive understanding of human behavior. Enriquez's work inspired psychologists worldwide to question if Western theory fit everywhere and calls for research method that aspect culturally quirks. Psychologyang Filipino helps shape a unique Filipino identity within the world of psychology, adding a splash of their experience to a broader canvas. It also pushes a change in society influencing policies and practice to make society more inclusive and understanding. So later, ay, sa akong previous slide, nag-explain ako sa inyo ang mga contribution niya, nga grabe yung research about sa kuan, nga grabe yung impact sa Phillips psychology, relationship sa mga Filipino values ug society, kaya nga pareha gid sa kuan, murag similar gyud sa countries nga murag na sense of identity loss and cultural depth adaptation. Sa through siyang effort sa kuan discover the concept of psychological has kuan nga murag na-acknowledge siya sa mga people sa Pilipinas and mga non-Western cultures na nag-research model nga provide siyang valuable information. And as a target and culture as source approach within the tremendous influence. O isa sa mga target and cultural source nga nag-approach nga na murag tremendous dako mga influence in regulating practical application. Pero before nag-study si Enriquez the study of psychology in the sa Pilipinas, kay dili kay siya productive due to language barrier or isa po ni sa mga problema, a large amount of psychological literature from Western philosophy og mga kuan nga lagi language barrier nga murag medyo nahihinder yang kuan tungod sa kuan sa large nga kuan gid nga murag dili siya productive due sa murag kuan lang murag English lang ang result. Pero ang trabaho ni Virgilio Enriquez kay dako kay na aspired siya mga Filipino researchers sa mga concept of Western research methods in psychology and have broadened the view of according sa na research broadened the view of the cross-cultural psychology. Murag nag-remain siya controversy sa topic sa mga Filipino psychology. Og sa aning perspective sa mga future development, Filipino psychological kay makapay more attention to individual og mga feminist treatment. The current therapeutic methods given in Filipino psychology are more group-oriented daw instead of kuan individual based mo ng individual patient kay dili kay maka-receive og precise nga mga treatment nga follow-up sa mga diagnosis corresponding sa ilang mga condition. Pero daghan pa mag-issue nga marag na unstandardized testing instrument sa terms sa therapeutic technique tungod sa mga lack of proper regulation. Tungod ani sa pagka-imperfection, growth sa Filipino psychological has contributed an increase sa social acceptance sa psychological disorder and initiative for seeking effective treatment. So far di dire raw taman and kan continue ni sa kan sunod nga reporter. Ang sa next slide is na lahi na pud nga reporter. Thank you and God bless.
So, good day, sir. My name is John Claude C. Balatero, and today I'll be discussing the conclusion and summary of Virgilio G. Enriquez philosophy. So, the first is the conclusion. Virgilio Enriquez Psikolohiyang Pilipino emerged not only as a psychological framework, but as a testament to the power of cultural identity in shaping our understanding of human behavior. Enriquez's pioneering work challenged Western-centric perspectives, urging psychologists to reconsider the universal applicability of Western theories. This study, blending historical and philosophical analysis, underscores the real-world impact of Psikolohiyang Filipino, influencing societal attitudes and policies. So that's the conclusion of our paper, wait, and the summary. It is a celebration of Filipino identity within psychology, pushing for inclusivity and understanding. The implications are profound, inspiring a more diverse and inclusive approach to the study of human behavior globally. As a recommendation, the study encourages researchers to adopt culturally sensitive methodologies, respecting the nuances of diverse contexts. The implications extend beyond academia, calling for a societal shift towards appreciation for cultural diversity and indigenous knowledge. In essence, Enriquez's legacy challenges us not only to redefine psychology, but also to embrace the richness each culture brings to the understanding of the human psyche. So, all in all, Enriquez was not playing by the usual rules. He looked at Western ideas about how people behave and said, hold up, does this really work for Filipinos? His framework is like a love letter to Filipino identity, saying, let's see psychology through our own cultural lens. And it's not just about Filipinos. Enrique is telling psychologists everywhere, hey, those Western theories might not fit for every culture. Let's think about that. It's like it's reminding us that psychology should embrace all the different flavors around the world. Now, the study we're talking about is like a detective story. We're using history and philosophy to figure out how Scoloyan Filipino came to be and how it's shaking things up in the real world. It's not just sitting in books, it's out there changing how people see things. Think of it like Scoloyan Filipino is a game changer. It's influencing what society thinks is okay and not okay. Enrique's work is not just for the fancy debates. It's making a difference in everyday life. So as we go through the study, let's remember that it's not just about psychology. It's about celebrating who we are. Enriquez is like a guide showing us that our culture plays a big role in understanding why do the things we do. And that's pretty awesome. And I can add Enrique's work is a big thumbs up for inclusivity. It's not just about Filipinos. It's a reminder that everyone's story matters in the study of how we humans behave. It's like he's waving a flag saying, let's make psychology a more diverse and welcoming space. So this is not just for the Philippines, right? Just like I said earlier, Enriquez is like a global cheerleader, inspiring folks everywhere to think about culture when they study human behavior. It's like he's telling researchers, hey, use methods that respect all the different ways people see the world. Now, so so it's like a guide for making real change, right? Like he's saying, like Enrique is saying that let's not just talk about culture in classrooms. Let's bring it into our everyday lives. Enrique's legacy is like a challenge, not just to shake up the psychology, but to appreciate the special things each culture brings to understanding how our mind works. So as we go through this, and all in all, let's keep in mind that it's not just for experts, it's for all of us who care about making the world a friendlier, more understanding. And Enriquez is like a mentor to us, showing us that embracing the richness of each culture is what makes the study of the human psyche truly awesome. So, all in all, sir, I think that's for the conclusion and the summary. Thank you for listening.